We've all had that one friend, the one that's always a little bit late, sometimes very late. And yeah, they're charming, and you know it's not personal. They're just a chaotic kind of person. But the truth is that over time, it can kind of erode your trust and your sense that they really do care. And of course, the worst feeling of all is being stood up entirely. And unfortunately, as much as that's a difficult experience in real life, what I'm noticing more and more is there's kind of a pervasive and insidious form of this being stood up that's proliferating in the kind of messaging apps age. And it has to do specifically with how these apps are designed or misdesigned. So we've talked a lot about how not keeping commitments to yourself damages your own self-esteem, your own sense of self-worth. And in this video, I want to talk a bit about how doing that with others actually can damage your reputation with them. It's subtle, it's little, they say it's no big deal, but it's there. And most importantly, I want to share with you some ideas about what you can do about that. So I'm not here to pronounce from some high and mighty place about manners, because the truth is I've done this. In fact, I did it just the other day. A family member sent me a message asking how I was doing on a particularly difficult day, a day that she knew I could use some support. And I found that message in the social media messaging app like a week later when I went back to ask her something really mundane. And it didn't feel good. It didn't feel right. And I'm sure it was, a funny feeling on her end as well. Small and forgivable. And yes, we still have a great relationship. But I didn't like it at all. And I hadn't in some way responded or dealt with that. But the reality is most of these messaging apps have a fundamental design flaw, or actually maybe it's a feature according to them, that once you tap on a message, there's no further notification that you've read it and might potentially want to deal with it in some other way. So either get sucked into dealing with it right there and then, or if you get interrupted or distracted or something else comes along, you run the risk that you're effectively going to ghost someone, potentially in the middle of a conversation that's deep and meaningful, as sometimes happens on this funny medium of text messaging. And I say it might actually be a feature from the vantage point of the app creators, because of course they want you to instantly sort of click respond in a Pavlovian way to these messages, and then of course engage with them right away, not defer them in any way, not deal with them as an orderly cue, but jump on it, because that creates usage, that creates habits, that creates behaviors that get wired in neurologically so that you are responding to the bells more and more and more as they compete for your attention. There is a way out of this, unfortunately. For those app creators, there is a way to kind of work around or circumvent the problem, the fundamental issue that once you click, you can't go back. And that is really in three parts. The first part, probably the most important part, is that you need to ask yourself whether you're actually ready to tap or not. When something comes in, just because it comes in doesn't mean you have to jump on it. And not jumping on it doesn't necessarily mean that that person is any less important to you or that message is any less consequential. It just means you're not ready now. And this simple thing of checking in with yourself, am I ready? Am I actually ready for new input, new information, to switch from whatever it is I've been doing into this new context, this new world, to tap, is a really important one. It's an important one in a lot of different contexts, but especially when there's no going back context, as it were, of the messaging app where the notification is going to get cleared the moment you tap. So bearing in mind and knowing that you're tapping on that message makes a kind of a commitment to somehow potentially deal with whatever that is in some way or form. Maybe not immediately. I'll talk about how to defer some of these things in just a second and do that effectively. But knowing that you are making a commitment to switch context and to deal with that in some way, rather than just sort of casually breeze in and out and potentially leave someone feeling ghosted, is step one of dealing with these app messaging applications in a sane sort of way. So step two in regaining control of the messaging chaos is that if you do tap, and you really do need to defer this to later, you're going to get interrupted or it requires further thought, etc., find a way to route that to a trusted location. In the Getting Things Done GTD methodology, we refer to this as an inbox, and it really just means a trusted place that you regularly check to find out what's there that you've often put there or others have put there that you know you need to deal with in some way, that you know is potentially actionable in some way. People go, oh, that's grossy, email or wherever inbox you're going to route that to is just so antiquated and messaging is so much better. It's really is it? Because the truth is that stream of information that's coming in, I bet 80 to 90% of that is not actionable in any way. Do you really want to be reviewing that and sifting through that and rereading that over and over in order to get at the nuggets of actionable stuff? If the answer is no, then you need to employ a strategy very, similar in some way to what I do, which is very simple. It's called take a screenshot, hit the share button, email to self. In that moment, I can capture, hey, what about mom's birthday out of the whole long thread of conversation with my sister about all kinds of other things and know that I'm going to deal with that and address that one rather than just let it stream by along with the updates about the nephews and all kinds of other things and miss an important actionable item that's come through in an otherwise very social and chatty channel. So you need to get it routed. You need to get it routed as fast as possible to a place you trust. For me, that's my email inbox that I empty every day or two. And the third thing you need to do to protect your reputation, to let other people know you actually care about communicating with them, is you need to close out that conversation. You need to close the loop with some kind of acknowledgement to say, got it, or we'll get back to you on this, something like that, something at all. Because the truth is, even a thumbs up emoji, right, as a response is better than just kind of leaving people hanging out in space, wondering if you're there or not. And most of these messaging apps, if you're savvy enough with them, will tell you if the other person has read the message or not. There's no worse feeling than kind of pouring your heart out or communicating something that you think is really important and seeing the double checkbox that say they read it, but where are they? So closing it out is another really important key. It can be quick, it can be simple, it can be straightforward. It just lets the person know, look, I've got it. I'm going to get on with this, and I've got other things going on. Ghosting hurts. Ask any teenager living today. And as this increasingly sort of app-native workforce takes on more and more senior positions, more and more important positions in terms of communicating with others and communicating priorities and strategy, I think it's just become increasingly important that we communicate with one another in ways that recognize one another's value, communicate respect for the message as well as respect for the person, and at least, if nothing else, adhere to basic kind of courtesy and manners about acknowledging the fact that someone's taken the time to reach out to you. People are not spam. Your coworkers are not spam. Treating them as such is a surefire way to erode trust and the dynamics of a team. At the end of the day, I think we can do better, right? Apps want us to create drama. They want us to create a sense of urgency about what we're doing. And with a little bit of self-awareness, with some good systems in place to capture effectively those things that matter to you, that are potentially actionable in your world, you don't have to end up being that friend or colleague that's always begging for forgiveness, that's always kind of trying to repair their reputation and convince you, no, it was important, it did matter, I just forgot. I don't think it's a good enough excuse anymore. I think for us to really be able to break through the noise, to really be able to communicate person to person effectively, it's just, I forgot is no longer really an acceptable phrase. That said, it's a journey, not a destination for me too. I make all kinds of mistakes as well as the proliferation of apps and communication channels and demands increases. But there are some really simple, fundamental principles I've found that are very practical and that at least work for me to be able to kind of close out some of these loops and take away what's actionable the signal from the noise. The first is just don't click unless you're ready to actually commit to receiving that communication, whatever it is. Don't tap unless you're ready to actually deal with it. And the second thing, of course, is when you do tap, if it's not appropriate to just deal with it right there and then, which often it isn't, don't let the apps convince you otherwise. Find a way to route that to an appropriate place so that you know you will see it later. You will see it in one of the places you check regularly, what we call an inbox, for lack of a better term, so that you don't just let that one disappear into the ephemera. Finally, close the loop. Just a simple acknowledgement of any kind, once you've effectively deferred that thing, once you really will, in fact, get to it later, is a great way to let people know that their communication to you matters. If you've found this at all useful, stimulating, interesting, a reminder once again to go ahead and hit the subscribe button on YouTube. We do produce this kind of content on a regular basis, and all of this is following on the thinking process laid out in a methodology called Getting Things Done, or GTD, which gives you a complete, comprehensive, systematic way to deal with all of your commitments, to manage and up-level your reputation as someone that's on top of things, someone that cares about others, someone that communicates effectively and well, through a methodology that's totally comprehensive and works as well back in the days of fax machines and memos as it does now with the proliferation of WhatsApp and Slack and Teams. So if all of any of that's interesting to you, be sure to check out next-action.co.uk as well. Drop us a line and we'd be happy to help with that. Meanwhile, from me, from all of us, good luck out there. My hope for you is that you can both be received and receive others in a way that conveys respect and dignity, and that closes the loop, and that lets you stay sane in a world of ever-increasing communications. See you next time.